Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories like this. Willow Creek, Ohio was the kind of town where everyone knew your name, and probably your business too. Nestled between rolling farmland and a two-lane highway, it was the sort of place where the steeple of Beacon of Light Church cast a literal shadow over Main Street. The church, with its whitewashed clapboard walls and stained glass windows depicting scenes of salvation, was more than a house of worship. It was the heart of the community. Families flocked there on Sundays for services, lingered afterward for potlucks, and sent their children to youth group retreats in the hope that faith and fellowship would guard them from the temptations of the world. At the center of it all stood Caleb Winters, a 29-year-old youth pastor and worship leader. With his easy smile and soulful singing voice, Caleb had become a local hero. A graduate of Grace Haven University, a conservative Christian college in southern Ohio, he rose to prominence in 2020 after performing his patriotic anthem Stand Tall at a national conservative conference. The university's press release had hailed it as a divinely ordained moment, and Willow Creek basked in his reflected glory. To many, he was living proof of small-town virtue making good on the national stage. But behind Caleb's carefully curated image, a darkness was taking root. The pastor's son, Caleb, was the son of Reverend Daniel Winters, senior pastor of Beacon of Light. Daniel's sermons were fiery, railing against the creeping moral decay of America and the enemies of faith, a broad category that included especially the local LGBTQ+ community. Caleb, ever loyal, sat close by his father's pulpit. His resounding amens punctuated Daniel's rhetoric, reinforcing his image as the perfect son and model believer. To the teens in his youth group, Caleb was more than a pastor's kid. He was a big brother, a mentor who offered high fives in the church basement, late-night talks about life and faith, and guitar-led sing-alongs under the stars at summer retreats. Parents trusted him. Young people adored him. His original songs, blending Christian devotion with pop star charisma, had kids singing along and parents beaming with pride. No one suspected that trust would one day be shattered. The first crack. The illusion broke in October 2024. Sarah Thompson, a single mother, noticed changes in her 15-year-old son, Ethan. Once outgoing, he had become withdrawn, spending long hours locked in his room. When she pressed him, Ethan broke down. Between sobs, he revealed that Pastor Caleb had asked him for private photos over a messaging app, disguising the request as a trust exercise. Sarah was horrified. On October 2nd, she contacted the Willow Creek Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Laura Bennett, a seasoned officer known for her blunt honesty and fierce protection of her town, immediately opened an investigation. Within days, deputies executed search warrants at Caleb's church office and his small Maple Street apartment. What they found stunned even veteran investigators: a trove of explicit messages, photos, and videos involving multiple minors. Some dated back to 2014, when Caleb had only recently turned 18. The evidence painted a chilling picture. Caleb had allegedly used his position to groom vulnerable teens, exploiting their trust to solicit illicit material. Some victims described being offered gift cards, fast food, or concert tickets in exchange for photos or videos. Others recounted physical assaults, brushed off by Caleb as our little secret. Most damning of all, investigators uncovered financial records showing that Caleb had used a church credit card to buy items, gift cards, electronics, and even meals that were later given to victims as bribes. The transactions, labeled vaguely as youth ministry supplies, had gone unnoticed for years. The scope of the crime suggested a decade-long pattern of abuse hidden in plain sight under the glow of Caleb's public persona. The arrest on October 10, 2024, Caleb was arrested and arraigned on 11 felony charges: 3 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, 4 counts of child sexually abusive activity, 2 counts of aggravated child sexual exploitation, 2 counts of using the internet to commit a crime. Judge Margaret Ellison, a respected jurist with 25 years on the bench, set his bond at $3 million. Caleb was remanded to the county jail. News spread like wildfire. In a town where Sunday services often doubled as social gatherings, the revelation hit like an earthquake. Families felt betrayed, not only by Caleb, but by the institution that had elevated him. Beacon of Light Church, once seen as the safest place in Willow Creek, was suddenly the epicenter of fear and outrage. The church responds. The church acted quickly, though not without raising eyebrows. Overnight, its website was scrubbed of all images of Caleb leading worship or smiling with youth group kids. In their place appeared a single-page statement signed by the church board. Open quote, "We are devastated by the disturbing allegations against our former music and youth director, Caleb Winters. We were blindsided by this news. The safety of our congregation is paramount, and we are cooperating fully with law enforcement. Counseling services are available for those affected, and we urge anyone with information to contact the Willow Creek Sheriff's Department directly." Close quote. The statement noted that Caleb had been suspended with pay on October 3rd, following Sarah Thompson's initial complaint, and officially terminated on October 12th. It emphasized that all staff underwent background checks but made no mention of child safety training. For many congregants, the omission spoke louder than the reassurances. How could a predator operate unchecked for a decade, especially when he was the pastor's son? The courtroom. By February 2025, pre-trial hearings began. The small county courthouse, a squat brick building on the edge of town, was packed with reporters, victims' families, and curious residents. Survivors, now aged 17 to 24, took the stand. Their voices trembled but held firm. Jacob, 21, testified that Caleb had sent him unsolicited explicit videos, dismissing them as silly pranks. A 17-year-old girl, her identity protected, described repeated assaults, which Caleb called a special bond blessed by faith. Tyler, 19, revealed that Caleb had used a church credit card to buy him a $50 gift card, later demanding a video in return. Judge Ellison reviewed the financial records, her voice heavy with disgust. "Sad to say, but I think that's exactly what happened." The testimony revealed a calculated strategy of manipulation. Caleb had targeted teens with unstable home lives or low self-esteem, offering attention and gifts to gain their trust. Over the years, church credit card purchases, totaling thousands of dollars, had been buried under vague expense reports. The revelations triggered calls for a full audit of Beacon of Light's finances. More charges on March 4, 2025, Judge Ellison made a stunning ruling. After hearing from 12 witnesses, she added 30 charges to Caleb's docket, bringing the total to 59 criminal counts. 17 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, 28 counts of child sexually abusive activity, 7 counts of aggravated child exploitation, 7 counts of using a computer to commit a crime. She denied bond after learning that Caleb had briefly fled to a neighboring state during the investigation, where he called a victim 8 times, pressuring him to keep his mouth shut. "These victims need to be believed," Judge Ellison declared. And I believe them. A town divided, outside the courtroom, Willow Creek began to fracture. Attendance at Beacon of Light Church plummeted. Families who had trusted Caleb with their children felt not only betrayed, but complicit for having ignored red flags. Reverend Daniel Winters remained in the pulpit, his sermons growing angrier by the week. On the Sunday after the pretrial hearings, he launched into a tirade warning that outsiders would soon overrun the town. He condemned progressive activists and dismissed the victims' families as agents of chaos. He did not mention his son once, but screenshots of the sermon, secretly recorded by a congregant, quickly spread on social media. The church removed the video within hours, but the damage was done. Critics accused Reverend Winters of hypocrisy, denouncing distant groups while refusing to acknowledge the predator nurtured under his own roof. Fallout beyond Willow Creek. The ripple effects spread far beyond the small Ohio town. Gracehaven University, which had once celebrated Caleb's rise, quietly scrubbed all references to him from its website. The conservative conference where he had performed Stand Tall issued a terse statement distancing itself from him, though it stopped short of condemnation. Locally, trust in institutions eroded. Parents began questioning the safety of other youth spaces, schools, sports leagues, even scouting groups. In response, Sarah Thompson organized a grassroots coalition demanding stronger child protection policies. Their first town hall drew hundreds, a rare show of unity in a fractured community. The survivors. For Caleb's victims, the path to healing was long. Counseling services, largely funded by community donations rather than the church, offered support. Still, the scars ran deep. Ethan, the teen whose courage sparked the investigation, wrestled with guilt. "I thought he was my friend," he told his mother, tears in his eyes. "I thought he cared about me." Other survivors echoed his pain but found strength in speaking out. Their testimonies not only advanced the case but also dismantled the aura of untouchability that Caleb had cultivated for years. The reckoning. As Caleb awaited his jury trial, set for June 2025, prosecutors prepared to present what they called an overwhelming case. With digital records, financial transactions, and multiple consistent testimonies, they were confident of conviction. If found guilty on all 59 counts, Caleb faced life in prison without parole. Yet in Willow Creek, denial lingered. A small but vocal group insisted Caleb had been framed or that the victims exaggerated. But those voices grew fainter as the weight of evidence mounted. Beacon of Light Church promised reforms: mandatory child safety training, independent oversight, and financial audits. But trust, once broken, was hard to repair. Reverend Winters remained defiant, casting the scandal as a test of faith rather than a reckoning. For many, his refusal to acknowledge his son's crimes only deepened the wound. A town forever changed. By spring, Willow Creek no longer felt like the same town. The steeple of Beacon of Light still loomed over Main Street, but its shadow seemed heavier, a reminder of the darkness that had once thrived within its walls. For the survivors, courage had turned pain into power, exposing a predator and sparking a community-wide reckoning. For the Winters family, the legacy was in ruins. Caleb, once the golden boy singing of faith and freedom, now sat in a cell awaiting judgment. And for Willow Creek itself, the lesson was stark. Even the brightest lights can cast the darkest shadows. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories like this.